it's time to heal and feel, be real. You just gotta take your time, unwind and chill. Cause now it's time to love yourself. Build emotional and mental health. Cause Black woman, it's time to heal and feel, be real.
Hey y'all, we're back with another episode of Black Women Healing Podcast, and as usual, we have a special guest. And so today I'm going to go ahead and introduce our special guest, and then we'll do our this or that. Today we have Candice Marie. She is an international relations specialist, author of The Most Disrespected Person in America, and a global travel expert with over 20 years of experience living and working abroad. Her career includes impactful work with the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps, and organizations focused on anti-human trafficking and refugee support. Through her writing, mentoring, and social media platform at Shy Girls Fly, she empowers Black women to embrace international travel as a tool for healing, self-discovery, and freedom. Candice's mission is to inspire others to redefine joy and belonging by stepping beyond borders and societal expectations. Wow.
It sounds good when you say it. I was like, who did all that?
Doing? Yes, that's you. That is you.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of a this or that that's kind of in the line of what we're talking about today.
Okay.
If thinking of vacation, would you rather have a vacation?
This is gonna be good. I can feel it.
We'll say, would you rather have a vacation that's filled with friendships,
Okay.
or a vacation that's filled with like peers? Like right now, you can travel with people you haven't met before. There's all types of groups. So if you had to travel with a group that actually is focused on traveling, right? It's Black women, it's all types of travel groups, or traveling with your friends. Yeah.
I can only do A or B, right? I can't be like C, none of the above.
Nope. You got to pick one. No, Myra, no.
Because then you know what, honestly, I'm gonna go work group. I'm gonna go with that like rando group of Black women who travel, and we all decided that we going to like Monaco. I would rather do that because you get to just be, like there's no expectation of who you're gonna be on that trip. They meeting you for the first time in Monaco. I mean, I don't even have to be Candice on that trip, right? Like, so I'm just like, I could just be whatever I am. And there's no expectation of communication, right? This is the thing I talk a lot about. So if I'm on that trip and I'm keeping to myself, because that wasn't an option, so I got to create it within an option, everybody can be like, oh, that's how she is. Whereas if I did it with my friends, they'd be like, oh, why are you acting funny, right? Because they expect. Yeah.
That is funny that you say that because my friends talk so much mess on how I travel. So I'm going to have to pick my friends because they know that if they don't want to do something, I will leave you. I will do that by myself.
Yeah.
They know that when I first touch down to where I'm going, I want to hit the ground running. They know I don't want to do all the touristy stuff. I want to hang out with the locals. And they just know that about me. And they all like think it's so funny. So I'm going to have to pick them because they know I will leave their ass where they at.
They allow that though. Like if you're like, yo, I want to do this, they're like, oh, that's who she is. Oh, okay, good.
Every trip they allow it because they know I paid money to be here,
right?
So this is how I'm gonna spend my money. I'm gonna go do all the things, and sometimes they'll be like, "Dang, maybe I should tag along. Maybe I should do that thing," or I'll come back with pictures, and they'll be like, "Can we go do it tomorrow?" You should have went when I went. Sorry,
it's done. I love that.
Yeah, no, that's a hard one. I think in thinking of what Myra is saying, there's flexibility in it, meaning like Myra is like that. But if I know I'm not on that time, I'm not gonna go travel with her, basically.
Yeah.
Like it's knowing, right? Like that's definitely she's out. And it's a lot of beautiful things about it, but it's not always it's not always the time. Kind of like what you're saying of like these people who they don't know you at all. So whatever time you decide to be on is like it's okay. You're not going to get all of those questions. What's
Mm-hmm.
funny is I've never traveled with any group like that. I've only traveled with my friends, but you making it kind of sound a little interesting.
I made it up because of the scenario. I've never traveled with a group like that. I just know, like, well, not to another country. Like I live in Korea, so we have these like what do we call them? Like team building trips, you know. So it'll be like a corporate situation, and then another like location or whatever, and we'll all have to like go on a day retreat to like a mountain or overnight situation. Korea does that a lot, and that's when I've been like, oh, okay, these people don't know me for real. I could be whatever, and they could say whatever, and it don't mean nothing. It's not going to be like when we get home, we need to talk about your.
Ooh,
But I
yeah.
feel like Myra must run her trip because if she's saying like, "Oh, well, when I with Myra, we do what she do," and you like, I do what I do. I feel like the common denominator here is we on your time.
I went on birthday trips too, and I'll tell my friends like we're in Jamaica for the first time. I'm gonna go do all the things. Or we're in this place for the first time. I'm gonna go do all the things. Like I had a friend, she wants to go to Puerto Rico, and she wants to go for 2 days. And I was like, well, I'm gonna go 4 days before you.
Yeah,
I'll see you when you get there. Let
yep.
me know where you want to meet up, right?
That's
And so
wisdom.
that's what I really like. But as y'all are sharing, I have been in conversation with a lot of different people about Black Yacht Week. And they go crazy over Black Yacht Week. These people become friends, and then their sole friendship is based on just them traveling. Like they
I
just meet up
love
with each
it.
other, and they're going to X, Y, and Z place.
Mhm.
Sometimes not Yacht Week, but that is a thing that I have been wanting to check out. Black Yacht Week, and then there's also I want to say it's like on
Like
the East
ski, it's like
Coast.
ski. I've seen a ski one.
Yes, apparently that's been a thing for like 50
A
years, and
long
like
time.
I'm late.
I'm late.
Yeah, so I really want to. It's really expensive to do it,
I was just
but you know
about to
what I'm
say
talking
that.
about. Yeah, I really want to do it. Yeah, it seems so
Do you
cool.
ski though? Because otherwise you're wasting your money at the cafe. Okay, all
Some
right.
people
Well,
probably do, or sometimes they
Johnny,
probably
we're
just want to
talking
get
about this.
dressed up.
yeah.
Johnny keeps talking about the skiing, but there's another one they do in the summertime where
Hmm.
it's in the same area. I want to say where a bunch of Black people will meet up and they just hang out on the beach and just hang out
Okay,
around
all
the
right. Now we
sea.
talking.
And it's like a thing you just gotta kind of know about. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
want to check that out. It's pricey, so people plan so far in advance, but I want to do it. It
Yeah.
seems cool.
Oh man, I love this. I love this or that because I meet probably almost every day. I go on TikTok and I host a live, and people come in and they ask me about travel. And I've realized like I'm a solo traveler. Like I'll meet you in the country. I'll see you at the museum when I get in the country, and then we gonna have like coffee or something after our little museum, and then you go to where you went when you landed, and I'm gonna go to where like it's like we went out for dinner. We just happened to do it in Sweden. You know what I mean? I do that, but to be fair, like a lot of the people I travel with are guys, and they move different. I travel with girls, and like now we at war, now we frenemies. At the end of it, we don't come back the same. Whereas my guy friends be like, whatever. But girls who come through the room that are asking like, oh, travel advice, and who am I going to hang out with? They're looking for like the community things, right? They're like, tell me about these travel trips that people take together. They asked me to host one, and I was like, oh, I don't know how to do that, y'all. I'm not built that way. But yacht lifestyle, like it'll be fun. I feel like that's my retiree plan. I'll start traveling with people when I can't do it by myself no more.
I'm here for that. Well, let's go ahead and get into it today, you all. We're going to be talking about healing actually through solo travel.
Okay,
Um,
all right. Now this part I know.
and so, starting us off, what inspired you to leave the United States and explore life abroad as a Black woman?
Hmm. That's a good question because every time like someone asked me that, I had to like sit down and think about it more and more. And recently, one of my close friends who I've been traveling with, like we lived in Korea together. She was there for 7 years. I was there for I've been there for 20 now. And finally, after 7 years, she was like, "What made you want to live this life?" We sit next to each other in Korea, like, "Well, what made you want to live it?" And I think it honestly came back down to being in St. Louis and a part of the desegregation program in St. Louis. We called it DSEG, where I was like bused from the inner city to the county. And for me, that was like a whole new world. Everybody looked different. I was 7. I had never seen white people before in my life. And then I'm 7 and they're all white. And I think that just kind of was like, oh, well, how big is the world? And everybody talked different. Everybody speaking English, but they didn't sound like me. And I was like, well, how do other people talk? And then that same year, we had like a French teacher come in and visit from France. And she was in the room, like just talking. And I was like, wait, So even, there's other countries, there's other languages, and I've been obsessed ever since. So I decided like then I was going to work for the United Nations. I was going to travel overseas. I was going to study French so I could have like that path as a diplomat. And I kind of stuck to it until I got to Korea. And then I was like, oh, there's more. But that's kind of, I think that's what started it. I think this system that was designed for integration of one race with another one just made me completely cultural. Like I took it way too far, I think. They hoped I live in Webster. I was like, I live in Korea.
Too far in the best way. Yeah.
Yes, I took it all the way across the ocean. I said, how big is it?
So, how exactly did you land in Korea? Because oftentimes when I meet Black women who live abroad, I more so commonly hear them living in Mexico, Japan, and Thailand. Those are like the three that I'm commonly hearing. I have friends that have moved to these places. How did you land in Seoul?
I did undergrad, like half of my undergrad, I did it in England. And then while I was in England, I worked in France. So I did that whole like Western Europe thing. You know how you just get on a train, you just keep playing around. So that was like, okay, I've conquered this part. I've conquered the languages I know, and it's too easy now. So I wanted to go completely the other way. And so it was going to be like China, Japan, or Korea. China was like, people was coming over and then they didn't know what it was no more. I was like, okay, I don't want to live that life. Then I try not to talk too bad about China because I be on TikTok all the time, and that live would get cut real quick. And then Japan was harder. And you said your friends are in Japan. I'm like, that's not an easy one. They do like have English there sometimes, but they're not as open to English or using English, and the culture is really, really hard. So I was like, okay, middle ground, Korea. And Korea was like, oh, come through, bet, say less. And I got there and it was like hard, but in a good way. And after like, I give myself 90 days. I will always hate a place for 90 days. And then like on day like 89, something will start to shift and then it'll be like a light switch. And I'm like, oh, okay, I love it. So even if I hate some place, if I'm struggling and if I haven't done the full 3 months, I just have to like ride it out. If I've done it for more than 3 months and I still hate it, I leave. Which is why I don't kick it here that much.
I love that. And talking about just like Black women moving abroad and things like that, I feel like I'm so far removed from Black women not traveling, but they still don't travel. And so I'm wondering, what do you think are some of the reasons why they don't travel alone in particular?
Yeah, the culture. Like, look at how we're raised. I think it's women in general. Like, women in general have been raised to kind of be a little bit dependent or take care of their families or whatever. Like, societal expectation is already putting you in this frame, and it's from birth. And then all of the media and everything around you is supporting the framing of what your identity is, what your expectation is, what your life goal should be. And then that frame gets reinforced within your own home. Your mom is doing it, so you got to do what she did. And then you add being Black on top of that, where we're very, for our own survival, we're very like family oriented. So families live together. Like I'm in a house right now that's 100 years old. My great grandfather's house. We were all born here. My mom, me, everybody was born here. Everybody lived here. My aunts are down the street. Like we're all still. So, like my great grandmother, she's still alive. She calls me the lost one because I'm the one who won't stay within the walls of our community. And then birth order. I hate to say it, but I think it's a thing. Like if you're the oldest daughter, that eldest daughter syndrome, I don't know. Y'all not nodding, so I think I'm not talking to eldest daughters here. That's what it is.
Daughter. Yes, you are.
Okay. I always got to check the room. I'm like, you get it? Oh, okay, never mind. You're the one that we spoiled then. That's what it is. We took care of you, which is why we don't do a lot of things. But that's what it is. I have a sister who's 10 years younger than me. So like that's my child. And then when she had a baby, I was like, okay, now I have another one. You just innately have these things. I think that's why Black women don't move. There's so many expectations that don't allow you to like what I call reach self-actualization. And then you gotta like know that there's something inside of you. I hate to quote Moana, but you gotta feel that like something out there is calling me. Yeah, all of that. And you gotta decide to answer it. And you gotta decide to be ostracized by a community. Yeah. That whole thing.
It's so layered. It's funny. I was laughing at you mentioning your grandma, not laughing at you, but because I travel before I had my daughter, I traveled somewhere basically every month, and now I'm kind of back doing that. And every time I go over to my grandma's house, she's like, "Where are you going?" "Oh, I'm going to Jamaica for a week." "Why are you choosing to do that?" That's
Yeah.
what she always said. That I remember when I first started traveling when I was 18. She'd be like, "Why are you doing that exactly?" "Okay,
Why?
just let me know when you get back," which is so funny. But I'm curious for the both of you, as you reflect on the first time that you traveled, why did you do it?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I want to hear Danica too.
Yeah, I want to hear. That's why I'm waiting. I'm like, what you got?
But, I mean, so if y'all listen to the podcast, y'all know I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. And so I think the very first trip that we ever did was it was to a family reunion. And this was not a different country, this was just a different place than Kentucky. This was to Tennessee. This was in Tennessee. I don't remember exactly where, but it was a family reunion, and I remember we fought the other kids
Oh, at your family reunion.
at the family reunion. Like
So
we
you
didn't
fought
like the
your
kids.
cousins.
Yeah, the kids didn't like the other kids. We didn't have a good time.
Yeah.
What's funny is I had to be so little because I don't really remember the details about it, and nobody talks about it. But if I'm thinking of the very first time I left Louisville, Kentucky, that was the first time. Um,
Do you think it left like a kind of a bad taste? Like, okay, this what happened when I leave, so no more leaving. Did it set some kind of precedent?
Not really. Maybe
Um,
family stuff, if I'm being honest. Like
yeah,
thinking of like when you meet new family you've never met before, it can go different. Like it can go a lot of different ways because you don't really know these people. You know, like
yeah,
family is family, but they're different, and especially geographically, we all different too.
yeah.
Um, but I don't think it did anything. But if I'm following Myra's thinking, that was my very first time leaving. Yeah.
Leaving your environment. I think, man, I don't even know. I want to say England, but I get the feeling. I get the feeling I might be missing one. I might be missing one, but the first time I can like physically like I made that choice was England, and I was in undergrad, so I had to be like maybe 19. Maybe
Mm.
19 or 20. Yeah, maybe 20. My mom called me though. I fell in love with a baseball player, in Oklahoma. I said, "Oh, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I'm marrying this man and I'm doing this." And my mom had called me because she remembered like my whole, path to becoming a diplomat. And she's like, "Hey, you in your junior year, about to do your junior year, don't forget to study abroad." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." So I told my, boyfriend, I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna do 6 weeks in England. I'll be back." But he was like feeling some kind of way. Like he never said nothing, but I could see he was like, whatever. And then that kind of like, oh, I'm really doing it now because what's that? I didn't like that reaction, so I wanted to like push it the other way. So I was like, I really doing it. Hated it. 9 weeks, hated it, and I hate to be conquered by a thing. So I came back home and I was like, no, I got to go back because there has to be something more. Like, what did I miss the first time? Why did I hate it so much? Did I really like take it in? And so then I went back and
What'd you miss? Like, why did
no,
you?
I just, I think the first time you go, I think there's no one who could prepare you. Like, first of all, it's England, so it's already like pretty white, right? It's the whitest you can, well, I guess Scandinavia, you can go whiter, but it was pretty white and pretty like very different. For 2 weeks, I couldn't understand nobody, and we all spoke English, right? I couldn't understand anybody. And so I just think like nobody prepared me for that level of homesickness. I didn't have friends growing up because I had cousins. I'd never known like distant, like all of that was like, ugh, why bother? And it was, I don't know why, I just felt like frustrated. I felt like it should have been easy, and it wasn't. And then I got home and I was like, oh, okay, oh, that's supposed to be a part of it. Like, because when I got back, I was calm, and then I was like telling people about my trip, and they were excited, and I was like, I must have missed something. If they were excited and I'm relieved, let me go try it again. Like, let me see what. And then I went back, and it was like great. But I had to define my terms. That's what it is. And that's why I'm always telling Black women to solo travel, because I went to fulfill like what I thought I was supposed to do overseas. And when I got there, I looked around and, okay, what is everybody else doing? How are they living? Okay, let me fit in. Let me fit in to survive. And then when I went back, I was like, no, I'm going to do what I want to do. And when I got back, I worked in Paris. I traveled Europe. I just used London as like my base. I did it on my terms, and it was, well, I haven't been back since. Like, that was the last time I left, and then I just been going around the world ever since. So it worked.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I was just in London and Paris this summer. Oh my goodness, I love London.
But they
Uh,
they turning up now. I don't know. France stay in the streets. I mean, they've been in the streets since the 1700s, but England is getting a little bit. Yeah, I could talk
mhm.
about them though, because I ended up going back. I stayed for 2 years. I ended up
Oh,
going back and I stayed for 2 years, and then I got my job in Paris while I was living in London. So I used to like go, that TGV that's like 47 minutes. I used to go back and forth every week.
yes,
That's
yes.
why I could talk about them. I know what they be up to for real, for real.
I think as you were sharing, you're making me think. Totally forgot my first traveling experience was a family reunion. Also, you just like
Oh,
unlocked like something that I totally forgot, and we got
Right.
to see all this land that my grandparents purchased and how they're taking care of like my great grandma's home, and like I met all these people, and it was so beautiful. And I remember thinking, wow, like the world is so big. Because we went to Alabama, then we drove to New Orleans, and
Wow.
it's crazy because we went literally like a month before Katrina happened.
wow.
So it was like a mind opening experience of like, wow, like people live life so differently here. And I remember telling myself, after this, you got to see the world, baby girl. After you go to New
Yes.
York, you're only doing
Mm.
countries. And like I stuck to that. So thank you for like unlocking that memory because I had totally forgot. Oh my gosh.
I'm
But
I'm glad you remembered it, because that what is that? I don't think that's like a normal thing that says, "Oh, okay, there's more. I got to see the rest of it." Like some people are like, "Oh, this was cool," and then they're content. But you and me, we was like, "Wait, how big is it?" Like let me go find out, and I'm still like searching it out.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was some
Yeah.
experiences that I was like, wow, people smoke in the restaurant. I got to see more different things. It's different.
I
Yeah.
love that was what did it. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And so as we're talking about this, is making me think about healing and self-discovery and how
Yeah.
trips can do this for us because Danica, again, you unlock like that little kid of me being like, oh my gosh, like there's more of me out in the world. There's different types of people out in the world, meeting my family, and then hopping around. So Candice, how do you feel that traveling can serve as a way for healing and self-discovery?
I think I wrote about this because there are like certain places that okay, for whatever reason, being here is gonna let me just be and let me like take that in. And for me, when I went to Mexico, it was like during COVID, and there were like a group of countries that was slowly starting to let people in, and then they took advantage of it. And it was like, we know y'all want to get out. You could bring your computer. You could work here. They started creating all these digital nomad visas, right?
Mhm.
Mexico, Barbados, all of those places. So Mexico was like, okay, we know you want to get out, come through. And I was doing therapy during COVID, the beginning of COVID. I couldn't figure out like why I was sad all the time. I was like, I'm very depressed. And my therapist was like, I think you need to travel. Like, I think you can't not do it. And it's starting to affect you. Because I would like go on walks and see people and stuff, but it was like, so when I got to Mexico, I was like, I'd never been. I don't speak Spanish. I just like, I got to go somewhere. And they opened the door. I said, I'm here. And then all of it, the first like week, I was just like twirling around and happy. And then the second week, like I think I was just carrying grief or all of those things, but I had the space to just lay and cry for like a couple of weeks. The Breonna Taylor verdict had come out. I just laid and cried. All of the stuff, we were in the streets during that time. We were marching and all this. And I was just there, like just laying and crying. And I feel like sometimes you got to get far enough away from like the expectation of family, the expectation of culture, of your environment, in a place that no one's going to be like, why are you crying? Are you okay? Or, stop crying, get up. Where you could just like let yourself fully go. Maybe you'll laugh hysterically, maybe you'll just lay like a bum. Maybe you'll just rot for 2 weeks, but you need the permission. And if you can't get the permission, then you need the space. And then in that space, you can give yourself the permission. And that's, I think, how you start to heal, especially for Black women. I think there's just this, you got to get far enough away from the noise of what you're supposed to be to know where the pain is coming from for real, and then you can start to come back. So I ended up staying in Mexico for 4 months, just crying. And when it stopped, and I saw who I was clearly, and I was like, you know what, from this point on, I'm gonna live a soft life. I don't owe anybody anything. I'm worthy like this. But I had to like lay there and without any expectation to get to that point.
Wow.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
knew too? Mexico, just right down the street. That's all I had to do the whole time. Because by that point, I had done about 20 countries, right? Without ever having that realization. So it
Yeah.
took a while.
Yeah, I'm
That's
happy that you got that moment and that you like allowed yourself through it. Like I think like crying for like weeks just sound like ha, but hearing like this self discovery piece and like this brightness is just like
hmm
this is what we do it for, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think you gotta. I don't know. You guys talk about healing a lot, and y'all talk about it in a lot of different ways. I was watching one episode where someone was like talking about how they weren't allowed to watch certain things as a children, and so they were like watching it again. It was an entertainment episode, but anyway, and I was like, oh, that's the thing. Like finding okay, like this is healing for me to be able to have that permission. Like I wonder how often do you hear that someone had to like give themselves permission to heal? Do you like? Do you guys hear that a lot?
all the time.
I
I
was gonna say
don't.
it feels like because for me it was revolutionary, but y'all like, good
Yeah.
job, you got there.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, there's so many factors to it too. Like even like how Myra just had like the aha moment and like we just unlocked the memory. Sometimes it is through us talking about it or like what we're talking about today. Sometimes it's through healing and traveling and through experiences. So
hmm
it's so many different reasons and things we unlock in different chapters of our life. And that's why too we talk about healing never ending
Yeah.
because like really we're just unlocking different chapters. That's why it's continuous. It never stops.
hmm Oh, I love that. I do love that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
think too. I want to point out that it looks different because I say like, oh, I healed and I came to the bright side, and you might, have solo travel, and it might reveal like you can't be alone. You'd be like, okay, you learned something. You're actually more healed with people and around people, or in a group, or on a yacht trip than by yourself. Like maybe the silence and the exploration of it all is too much. I do want to make space for that. That's a reality too. Like maybe that would be a very excessive way to attempt to heal and to find yourself. I'm learning to make space for that. I used to didn't. I'm like, girl, just do it. And I'm learning that that's not everybody's answer.
look, funny you say that. I want to share my own personal thoughts about this because
Tell
I've
me.
never traveled alone. So I have been to, I've been to Ghana, like thinking of countries. I've been to Ghana, I've been to Jamaica, Mexico. I've been to some places. I've been to a lot of different states in the United States. I've been to places, but everywhere I go is with someone. I might stay by myself a few days, like Myra is saying, or I might go by myself for a few days, but it's knowing that somebody is going to come or if they
Mm-hmm.
left, I know I'm gonna be leaving in a couple days anyways.
Mm-hmm.
um and I kept having it on my list every year, like the last 2 years, like solo travel, like you need to do it, you need to do it. And I realized like I think the reason why I didn't, and maybe this is a moment for me, but it's like I feel like I'm already I do a lot of stuff by myself already. Like
Mm-hmm.
meaning like I live in California now. I live in LA and this is not where my family is. And so I do have a lot of friends. I have great community, which is beautiful, but I live alone. Like I do stuff by myself. I go out to eat by myself, movies by myself. Like I do stuff. So it almost feels like do I need to go somewhere else by myself? Like I do things. Um, but I do want to try it to see what happens. Cause like you're saying, I might go and it might be some of this self-discovery and healing that happens that really unlocks this identity like in who I am. Or
Mm-hmm.
it might be like what you're saying where I'm like, girl, you don't need to do this.
You don't have to prove nothing. I do think I'm a Gemini, so I would say I'm a hypocrite, but I'll just say I'm a Gemini, so I can see both sides. And I will say, I think everybody needs an international solo trip by themselves. See how you?
International.
Yeah, I feel like you need to go overseas by yourself.
Huh.
Albuquerque by yourself, who
I
cares? But
was thinking Seattle first, something like that.
Seattle, Seattle is a
International.
layover. What are you saying? Seattle is literally my layover on my way to Korea. Like, you don't need that.
Okay, so
Seattle is like my
international.
favorite layover, but yet it's still because here's the thing: what's gonna happen? You gotta peel that. You were saying like figure out who you are. You have no idea the entirety of you within the frame of your own language. And like we're all black women here, it's not a country we chose. It was chosen for us, right? It's not a language we chose. It was chosen for us. So when all of that is removed and you're just like out there, who are you? How do you fare? Do you pick
Mm,
up the language? Does it irritate you? Do determine in your heart, like, you're not going to go out because nobody speaks the language that you speak? Are you that person? How would you know? Are you kind when you're under that kind of pressure? Can you read the room? Are you like, what kind of like survival skills do you have? What kind of personality comes out when you're put in that kind of pressure? Are you as nice as you think you are? Or are you just comfortable and so it's easy to be nice? Like, I think you gotta go out. You gotta cross. And since we're surrounded by water, unfortunately, you gotta cross some. Like, this ain't Europe where you can just go down the street. I would say go to Mexico, but she said we can't do that no more. So now you gotta cross some water. That's how they go. I don't think solo travel is for everybody, but I do think you need to cross the water by yourself at least once, just to see the core of the thing. What's really in there? It'll come out. It'll definitely come out.
Okay, I'm writing it down again.
Come to Korea, I'll be there. You don't even gotta stay. Just do the water, cross the thing. We'll have some dinner. You'll get back on the plane, and then you can be like, okay, I know what comes out when I'm surrounded by everybody. Nobody looks like me. You ever land in Korea? It's all Korean, all Asian. So you don't have the comfort of being like, okay, there's another Black woman. She gonna see me. I'm gonna see her, and I can ask her.
That's the part right there. Oh, like, even it is. I do know that. Like, I do definitely find like peace and safety when I'm around other Black people. Like, when I was in Ghana, it felt like home, right?
Exactly.
It felt like comfortable. So I can only imagine. But I hear you. Definitely putting it
I
back
feel
on.
like that. I feel like that's what you're saying. Like, oh yeah, but I like knowing, and oh, I'm gonna be leaving. I feel like, oh, there's safety net, and like, to our credit, everybody feels like that about Black women. Like, when I got to Korea, like, I had a good group of Korean friends. So it's like, oh, okay, Candice is gonna be there. It's gonna be okay. If she's there, it's safe, because they just feel like where Black women are, safety follows, right? Or we make it safe.
Yeah.
Or we could read it enough to say, hey, this ain't safe. We all leave it. Let's go, right? So I think we all find comfort in Black women, which is another reason why I think, like, you got to get away from it all and see, like, when you don't have the safety net, who are you? Who are you?
Yeah. And thinking of that, how can Black women build community while traveling, especially when experiencing this loneliness or this culture shock feeling you're talking about?
Yeah, so I have 3 tips for that. 3 ways. So the way to build community, the reason why I harp on, like, do it by yourself and see who you really are, because then you'll build community on the basis of your true identity and not just your cultural one or your ethnic one, right? But you'll build community around what your true passions are. So instead of finding people that look like you, what you'll do is find people that love what you love, not like what you like. Okay, I like the beach, but I don't love the beach. So community beach trips are out for me, right? But I love movies. Like, I'm obsessed, right? So I'll go on a movie trip, people who love movies. And now we can talk all day. Find people that love what you love. That's the first thing. So go where those people hang out. I go to the movies and see other people at the movies. Oh, you like this movie? We start talking. Okay, there we go. The second one, to build community, if you really don't want to push yourself, then find people. It's a bad tip, but it works. Find people that hate what you hate. And when it comes to work, and I'll say this because you mentioned that I did work in anti-human trafficking, right? Because I hate human trafficking. And so when I started doing that work, I was by myself. I was in Korea, and I was like, I'm hearing these things that are happening in Asia, not on my watch. But I found other people who also hated that thing, and we became a group of people who fought for justice. Fight for a cause. People who are fighting for a cause. That's a good community trip to be a part of, because not only are you guys going to fight for something, you're going to feel that and you're going to help people, but you'll heal together as well. You'll talk about, hey, how did this make you feel? Why do you feel the need to fight this thing? Why does this, people that you can kind of heal from with and serve others with, that's a good community. And then the other thing, it doesn't have to be as, crazy as like human trafficking, fighting human trafficking. That's pretty gangster. Everybody isn't Liam Neeson. I get that. But just service in general, like, that's a community oriented situation. Like, find people who are doing work and serving others. There's always built-in gratitude with that, and that heals. I think you guys even talk about that, like, being of service, volunteering, it heals you as well. And those are good, like, things to center community building around. And look for that when you travel. Those people are everywhere.
Thank you for giving us those tips. What you gonna give us for a takeaway? That was like a takeaway.
Man, do it. Just do it. Whatever you need to do, do it. I feel like, you know what my takeaway is? I want to say you have permission. You have permission. A lot of us are waiting for permission, to travel, to heal, to stop, to go, to live, to breathe, to exhale, to inhale, to hold it. Okay, here's your permission. You have permission. Now do it. That's my takeaway.
Thank you for that takeaway. Something that's been on my mind this past week is, what does it mean to center yourself?
Mhm.
And I think that I'm also getting that from this episode of, when you're able to solo travel, you're able to center yourself and center your needs. And so that's where I think we could end the episode, y'all. That's it.
Oh, you were better. Well, it took me 16 sentences to say what you said in one. That's what I was trying to say.
Doing it every day this week because I'm doing the 75 hard.
Oh,
So it's coming up in all types of conversations of, because people are like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, I'm not looking for any health outcome. It's for me to purposefully center myself. So I'm going to do a
yes.
365 hard. It's not going to be a 75 hard. It's 365, doing it every day.
Okay, you're that person. I see you're that person. She's like, I go to, what did you say you went, Alabama? You're like, what else is there? 75, what else is there?
I'm a curious person. I want to see all the things. Show them to me.
Yeah. Hey, how do you know though when you're not centered? How do you find that out? Like, I think solo travel will let you know if you're centered or not. You'll get there and be like, oh wow, why am I crying? Something out of balance. But how do you know? Like,
My
did you do
stomach hurts.
75 hard because you knew you weren't centered?
My stomach hurts. I have learned that throughout my life, I experience how I'm feeling in my body. So I'll either have, I'll struggle with digestion, or I'll literally have stomach pains. And it's something that I've identified with my therapist over the past few weeks. So that's how I know I'm not censored, but I'm feeling
Wow.
censored. Yeah.
Can I
That
ask?
could be an episode.
Oh, okay, because I'm worried now. I'm wondering, like, Danica, how do you know if you're not centered?
I mean, I kind of think, like you're saying, I mean, I can feel it in my body as well.
Yeah.
It's not, doesn't come up as pain, but definitely, like I feel like I'm pretty in tune with my feelings. So it's like, okay, if I'm angry, when I start getting irritated,
No,
I'm like, oh yeah,
you're offset.
you off, because I'm not typically like a nasty mean person, but when it start getting to like everything snappy, yeah, something's going on. Yeah, when
Okay.
the feelings become too intense, right? When it feels like these feelings, whether it's sadness, happy, whatever it is, it's like, ooh, it's too intense. Usually that means that I'm not.
Okay, that's good to know.
What
All
about
right,
you?
I took something.
Hold on.
Okay,
What?
everybody takes something away from this.
Yeah, I needed to know that. I'm like, how do you know? Yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm asking y'all. Like, how you know? What's the giveaway? Um, I guess for me, and I've just said, oh, it means I need to travel. I need to go. I need to move around. But it might, like, whenever I get that feeling, I think that's me off center. Like, based off of how you guys have defined it, I'm like, oh, that must be me off center. And then if I go and I come back and it happens again in 2 weeks, and then it starts that time span between it's getting shorter and shorter of me like losing my center, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to get more than a trip. Like somebody's gonna have to step in and intervene. Yeah, because or I just go further. I'm like that Mexico was too close. I gotta try Australia next time. But usually a trip will center me back. So I don't know. I got maybe my stomach. I gotta start listening to my body. I think is what I'm
Yeah,
taking
listen to
away.
your body. And I think
Yeah.
that's a takeaway for our guests too, of what does it mean for you to be centered. And so I'm gonna give y'all that for homework, and that is gonna be it for this week's episode of Black Women Healing Podcast.